Corey's going to come up and say a few things on behalf of the Rosenbusch family.
Wow. If Mom were here in flesh to see all of these people, she would be so pissed. Mom was not the one that would ever have allowed us to have a funeral today. So we're going to steal a little page from her playbook. Mom, we're not having a funeral. We're going to have a party and a celebration. She would expect us, as Coach Dye said, to laugh, to have a good time. And if by God's grace I'm able to make it through the next few moments, please don't mistake that for insensitivity, because we've shared a lot of tears this week. So if I do lose it, just give me a small break. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll pull myself together, and I'll listen closely to Mom's spirit hovering above my shoulder, whispering in my ear, "Stop your crying, you big baby." Mom loved to laugh, so we hope that's a big part of what we share together today with each and every one of you. As a matter of fact, I don't think the nurses quite knew what to do, or the doctors, by all of the laughter coming out of the ICU room. That's not what's supposed to happen in a hospital. I kept thinking, they're going to kick us out of here. They're going to kick us out of our hotel, out of our hospital room, and we're somehow going to have to explain it's not us, it's the patient that's causing the ruckus. I know many of you had already probably read the comments from the Caring Bridge side. Thank you so much for all of those words. They meant the world to us. We read every last one, and they were so special. But for those of you that didn't get to read the ICE comments, I just thought I would share that again this morning to give you the flavor of what it was really about, because she was in rare Vickie form that day. Even to the last minute, she had that sense of humor. See, she had been on a breathing machine, and all she wanted was that thing pulled out. We thought it was because it was uncomfortable. It was really because she just wanted to be able to yell at people. And as soon as she got it out, her first word wasn't hello or I love you. It was ice. I need ice. And some of her best comments that came afterwards were, "You promised me ice. I promise I'll stop talking if you just get me ice." We were asking the doctors to put the tube back in. After coming back from lunch, I think this was a compliment, she said, "Corey, go out there and tell the doctors I need some ice right now." I said, "Mom, Dad's right here. He's been talking to him. He's been telling that." "Yeah, he's too nice. You're more demanding. You go do it." I mumbled and said, "Wonder where I got that from." She said she didn't want any visitors that day, but we appreciated everyone was there. She quickly corrected us, No. I'll take visitors if they can just bring us ice." And the best one was when the nurse said she couldn't have any ice, she quickly replied, "Okay, I'll just take a snow cone." She was quite the humorous lady even up to the very, very end. So I wanted to give you a brief glimpse of Vickie the mom, of Vickie the Aged stock show presence, and probably the best, Vickie the personality. I think a lot of people thought I was crazy for volunteering to do this and perhaps drawing the short straw, but I think there's probably no better thing I can do for my mom than honor her today. She absolutely loved to hear me speak. A lot of people, as Coach Dye said, realized Dad was the ag teacher here. But I don't think Dad would be offended and would agree that it was really Mom who drove a lot of my FFA experience. Literally, she drove me all over Area 8, critiquing my speeches, listening to everything I did. She was a true coach, and I know she's probably listening today with the same big smile that she always did. As a matter of fact, the last time I was on this stage was about 20 years ago at my high school graduation. It was probably one of the most proudest moments I ever saw her experience. She wanted more than anything for me to graduate #1 in our class so she could hear me speak that night. She challenged me to that goal actually in middle school. Actually, she bribed me to that goal in middle school. She promised me if I graduated #1, she would give me any car I wanted. Now, unfortunately, it took 11 years for her to give it to me. It was not her fault. But she was true to that word, and I still drive that car today. There is no question who instilled the drive, the ambition, and the success for me and Tate, and that was our mother. When I would have a late night study cram session in school, she would know I was preparing for the exam. I'd show up the next day after the exam was over, and she'd say, "Hey, how'd you do, Corey? What'd you score? What was your test score?" And I said, "Hey, Mom, I did really well. I had a 91." 91? Best you can do? I said, "But Mom, it was the best grade in the whole class." She goes, "I don't care, you should have had 100. She instilled in me a perfection and a drive to be the best like none other. It was academics for me, it was athletics for Tate. Tate was a pitcher in Little League, and for those of you that weren't around Glenrose, Mom always had a permanent seat at sporting events, basketball, football, wherever it might be. And it was usually wherever she could cuss at the rest the most. And when Tate was pitching in Little League, he had a really tough game. He walked like 3 or 4 batters in a row. Of course, it wasn't Tate's fault, it was the umpire's fault. Big Craig Floyd was umpiring that game. Finally, Tate got so angry, he just goes, "Mom, shut up!" Now, back then, we were kind of small town. We couldn't afford 2 umpires, so the umpire would go behind the pitcher's mound so they could call the base paths, but they could also call the balls and strikes. And when Tate yelled at Mom, it was like freedom for the umpire. As he walks up to Tate and said, "Tate, pretty annoyed with your mom, huh?" Tate goes, "Yeah, she's driving me crazy." He goes, "Picture her face on that baseball mitt." Tate struck out the next 5 batters. Mom taught us, no. She demanded that we be the best at everything that we do. Perhaps Mom's biggest legacy will be that on the Ag Ed and the FFA community. We talk a lot about multi-teacher programs in Ag Ed circles, and Dad was always a single teacher program, forever here, I guess. A lot of schools will have 1 or 2 teachers. I think it's the one thing that I realized this week is that we had 2 ag teachers. One just didn't get paid because she was a partner. Even Dad will tell the student teachers that he teaches on the block that the key to success is that you have to have a partnership with your spouse. They have to be there. Mom was there for every single thing that we did. I had no idea, because she was focused on us, the boys growing up, how much that impact had grown. It's great to see all the FFA jackets here today, because it really was a wide influence that she made. Jennifer Martin wrote a comment on her Caringbridge site, who was a superintendent with her at stock shows, that I'd like to read. "Though the battle may be ending, your legacy will carry on. Vickie's impact on youth agriculture in Texas has been felt by many and can be seen in FFA chapters and show barns across the state. She is absolutely one of a kind." Someone else wrote, "Vickie is the strongest woman I know involved with agricultural education. And it's no doubt a reason I joined this field. She has set an example as an independent, kind, and generous person. I don't doubt that she has been a role model to many others besides myself. She and RD," that's my dad's nickname in case you didn't know, "both gave me so much encouragement in high school. Even though I didn't come up through their program, I always felt like I was adopted into their group." The impact that she had on so many people was special to me and Tate. We didn't realize that, and we want to say thanks for sharing that. Thanks for allowing her to be an ag teacher, to be involved in the ag ed community, and thank you all for your generous donations to a scholarship fund that will allow her legacy to live on for years and years to come through the Texas FFA Foundation. Last and not least, Mom's personality was one of a kind. I'm not sure the world's leading psychologist could properly label it. Just out of curiosity, raise your hand if you have ever been made fun of, insulted, or harassed by mom. Raise your hand. Keep them high in the air. Congratulations, she liked you. You always knew where you stood for mom. She told it like it is. Early in life, I remember how embarrassing that was. I mean, it humiliated me. I always felt like she was acting like such a kid. I now realize that's her secret to connecting with people. She could tear down that wall and that barrier, and it allowed her to relate to one another. It was easy for people to like her. They would drop their guard, and I think Tate probably said it best when we were reading some of the comments the other night. He says, I knew a lot of people knew Mom. I just didn't know how many people actually liked her. Angela Wood, now Angela Russell, who was a high school student here, also shared, on FFA trips, I was always disappointed if Rosie, who knew her real name was Vickie, wasn't going with us because it meant a lot less people being made fun of, which resulted in a lot less laughs. Even when I was the target, her sense of humor would always put a smile on my face. You both made a difference in my life, just like I'm sure you did for so many other Glen Rose High School students. You would be pleased to know that the Vickie personality lived on till her very last days. Her first day when we transitioned her over to hospice, one of her dear friends, Daryl Rial, who came to visit, and he is the livestock show director at the state fair. Mom would, once again, that partnership thing. Dad had been hired on to work at the state fair. Mom came along and found a job as well. And she hadn't been asking for visitors, but for some reason she wanted Daryl there that morning, and we quickly found out. She pulled Daryl in and said, Daryl, got my desk saved for me next week? Daryl goes, yes, Vickie, I got your desk. Don't worry, it's there. All right, what are you going to have me doing, Daryl? Well, Vickie, we're going to have you ordering lunches. She hated ordering lunches. Daryl, Dad had a state fair issued cell phone. Daryl, can I get a cell phone this year? I want a cell phone this year. Sure, Vickie, we'll get you a cell phone. And how about a golf cart too? Can I have a golf cart? Dad's got a golf cart. Can I get a golf cart? Yeah, we can get you a golf cart, Vickie. But I want it to have lights on top of it. No problem. We'll get lights on top of your golf cart, Vickie. She said, damn, I'm probably not going to be able to drive it. Can you give me a driver as well? Sure, Vickie. Drive the golf cart. No problem. You would not be surprised that she was strong. And by strong, I mean stubborn and hard-headed to the very end. Even while she was in ICU, the doctors would come and go, hi, Vickie, how are you? I'm fine, I'm good, no pain. And I'm really blessed that she instilled into us that same strength. She told me when I was at the hospital, you gotta get out of here, you gotta leave. I was en route to New Zealand for a work trip, and she was so angry that I showed up at that hospital. She said, Corey, you better go. If you don't go on that hospital, if you don't go on that trip, you're going to get fired. I said, Mom, I'm the boss. I'm not going to fire myself. She said, well, you should. I don't think I ever missed a day of school or work from illness. And it was mainly because Mom wouldn't allow it. One morning I remember getting up in elementary school, and I was so ill. And she said, I don't care, get in the car, you're going to school. So we're driving down Highway 67, headed into Glen Rose. Got right in front of Triple D Ranch. I remember everything like it was in 1995, my apologies, that's now the golf course. And had to pull over and just, right there on the side of the road. I looked and said, see, I told you I was sick. She said, good, you got it out of you, you're better now, get in, we're going to school. She really built a strength of character in us that I might have seen as crass then, but I now realize how valuable that trait is that she gave myself and Tate. So I've made it so far. This is the part to bring out your tissue. I apologize. But Dad was the best nurse to Mom. I know it was hard for him to say goodbye, but you were the greatest to her. Despite the frequent abuse, loving abuse of course, you are so loyal, dedicated servant and a husband. Tate and I will soon be returning to Washington, D.C. where we live. Me probably sooner than him because I have a wife that's 39 weeks pregnant. I wouldn't be surprised if Mom's probably setting up in heaven right now, putting my wife into labor at this very moment, just as a cruel joke. By the way, we'll be having our third daughter. She loved her grandchildren. She absolutely loved being around them. I'm sorry she didn't get to spend even more time with them. But because we're going to be so far away, can I ask you a favor, particularly those of you that see Dad? Take good care of him. He and Mom did everything together. They traveled so many miles. And I hope you'll keep him company. He deserves it. Forgive me for just a second as I conclude. Jeremy, I apologize, but I have to do a small sermon. I look more like a preacher than you do anyway. First, Mom taught me some very valuable lessons on her deathbed. God was using her to communicate. And I want to share some of those messages that I felt that week in the hospital room. First, don't miss an opportunity to ask a dear loved one about their salvation. Mom was not a big churchgoer, although Jeremy's church was the one she did like to go to. But I'm glad I didn't miss that opportunity because what gives us peace to get through this is to know that we'll get to see her again and spend time with her again in eternity. And I'm glad I didn't miss the opportunity to have that conversation with her. And I hope you won't let a minute go by without having that same conversation with your loved ones. Secondly, Washington, D.C. is a very fast-paced city, built in power. And I'm already a bit of a type A personality, but everything's always very rigid and in control. And as Mom entered into hospice, I think it was 4 times, we would gather around our hospital bed, we'd hold hands, we'd pray, and we'd say goodbye. Finally we said, we give up. She's going to go when she wants to go. But it reminded me, and it was such a clear message, we're not in control. God knows the time, and God dictates that time. No matter how much pain she was in, or how uncomfortable it was for us, it didn't matter. Sometimes we just have to wait, and waiting gives us great experiences and time together, because God intends that for us. Mom was only 61 years old, which is very young, but I can assure you she lived life to the fullest. She couldn't sit still. She was always on the go. She wanted to be in the middle of the action at all times. Her pace was so intense at sometimes that whenever she was tired or sleepy, or I made a comment about needing sleep, her classic comment was always, "You can sleep when you die." Mom, I hope you're enjoying some rest. Rest in peace. You deserve it.